80% of marketers believe that they deliver great consumer experiences, but only 8% of consumers agree. And so hence Project Reconnect is our effort as a community to try and better understand, listen to people so that we can better align marketing practices and execution with what people really expect and demand from brands.
I'm going to do a classic countdown of what I think are the aggregated themes of where brands are going wrong. So I think riding culture has never been more challenging for brands, but it's a bit like riding a bucking bronco. If you decide to attach your brand to cultural zeitgeist or moments, things can go dramatically wrong. Borrowing influence can also be very costly. Another thing that many marketers have been doing, talking about sexism, is something that we do need to address. There's definitely too many male creative teams who are developing work, let's say, with a slight lack of sensitivity. Failing fast is the new digital mantra. Even the most tech of companies seems to not quite have managed to work out how to fail fast and get out. Most agencies, when they talk to clients, talk a lot about purpose and standing for something. I think having some sort of North Star, as I say, is fairly important. And if you're not built on substance and you don't have purpose and things go wrong, things fall apart very rapidly. In at number 3, it's a small world. The reason the internet was called the World Wide Web is because it's worldwide and everybody sees everything. Brand's promise is its promise. And if you do things that are fake news stories, again, news travels very fast. Finally, on my top 10, moving to the medium is the message. It's a wonderful quote from Marshall McLuhan back in the 60s, and I would say as relevant today as it ever has been.
At Contagious, we sort of started as a magazine in 2004, looking as a sort of like satellite navigation guide for the future of the industry. We look at what we feel is the top 1% of advertising worldwide, because we think that's the stuff that changes the world, changes behaviours. Brave, innovative creativity is the only, way to gain a competitive advantage over the competition. And you look at these case studies that you see at award shows all over the world, and they're the kind of swan on the lake, kind of serenely sailing along. And what we're interested in is the legs, like how they, what makes it work, what makes it tick. And we're surprised at how many of the world's best, most innovative ideas and campaigns and positionings and so on are actually fueled by, pardon my French, fuck-ups. I'm going to look at brands that have sort of risen from the ashes. They've kind of confronted their demons face on to sort of turn adversity into opportunity. Skol is the biggest beer brand in Brazil. The brand said, look, we recognise we're out of kilter. We're supposed to be, we started as a democratic brand that was about enjoying life and everyone being positive, and we've ended up with stuff like this. They actually confronted it head on and said, right, okay, we hold our hands up. What we're going to do is we're going to invite the audience that we offended, we're going to let them come in and just basically improve our advertising. You can afford to be brave, you can afford to fail, and you can afford to fail forward fast. Do any of you have any comments on the race to try new technologies, potentially with the absence of thinking of the customer?
I think you should incubate a lot of those technologies. You should have them internally being trialed and errored, because for me, fail fast is an internal indicator. It shouldn't be an external indicator. Do you launch it within a campaign? Do you launch it within a new product? Is a complete different discussion. Is it mature enough? Is the consumer actually willing to use it? Is it making a difference? Do I have the right to play with this product, in this technology?
When it's technology that's part of and applied to your core competency, so for us, making beverages, building brands, distributing them, I think you have to be investing in that technology for the company, not necessarily for the consumer, but for the company. And then I think on the stuff that will impact the consumer and how they feel about you, I think you have to ask yourself whether or not there is a real competitive advantage to be gained by being a first mover. Because a lot of times I think we can all get distracted trying to develop or exploit technologies ahead of the curve for what we perceive as a first mover advantage, when actually it's better off to leave the people whose technology is to do it.
I do think marketing tech, just to attack that for a minute, it has sold lots of myths that they can't deliver on, and the stupid people here are all us marketeers who have believed them and bought them, not the people selling them. And actually doesn't help this because a lot of Cannes award-winning stuff, what's the word I'm looking for, is bollocks, actually.
It's a good word.
And it should be called out for being that. So, where are the business metrics? Where is the brand building? Because shiny new stuff is easy to do, but, do the right thing.
I just wanted to get your opinion on that. I mean, clearly, programmatic TV is traded now. Everything is becoming programmatic. Is there any fear amongst you guys about losing the origination of context for your message? Or
So there's nothing wrong with programmatic per se. And in fact, in our case, when we're in safe environments, if somebody's just taken out a loan for their kid to go to university, it's highly likely that they might need some financial help. So there are all sorts of life moments, life stages, when done in the right way, thoughtfully, carefully, it can be done well. But as I experimented with my own data, just to underline the point of age, I was less than pleased when I got lots of things about had I got my funeral plan in place. And because, programmatic, when you don't get the context right, it's horrendous. Programmatic done in the right way, great, but done in the wrong way, it's horrendous, and we should be asking some tough questions, and we are.
Programmatic should be really important. You should have a set of criteria by which an incredibly important thing is decided automatically, so you can get there at the right time with the right thing. What I think we're falling foul of is thinking that we can do programmatic everything. That's not the point. Programmatic everything just kind of absolves us of the responsibility for taking care of what we say, when we say, and most importantly, how much we pay for it.
There was a recent study that said consumers are less brand loyal. And one reason is because of the fast pace of technology trains us to want the shiny new penny. People don't want tried and true brands anymore. They want new, they want innovation. So what are your thoughts on that, and what should marketers be doing about that?
The days of thinking that it's okay to build a brand slowly and expect it to last 100 years, I think they're probably over. We have to be thinking about the life cycle of brands has probably changed. The second thing is I think on Domitil's point, those friction points, I think they come up much more often than we ever think, and you need to keep delighting your customer on a more continual and frequent basis than perhaps we did 20 years ago. And I don't know our organisational structures have got to that yet, so that's the second point. And the third point is loyalty is earned by delighting somebody every single time they interact with you. So it's not just at friction points, but just make sure what you are marketing, the product, the truth, the purpose behind what you're bringing, make sure that's constantly relevant and constantly rewarding. And then I think that starts to boil down.
If you think that you've all been on both sides of the fence, from an agency and a client side, what do you think each needs to know about each other to be more effective against this big challenge that we've got?
The most successful clients have been on both sides of the fence because they learn to respect what agencies do, which is worthy of respect. I see a lot of clients who've never worked in an agency who treat agencies as though they're servile and suppliers, and that's a shame. They're not. They're highly valued business partners. But I think what we need to learn is where is the core expertise, who does what, why are you contracting an agency, what are you asking them to do, so the clarity of the brief is the usual thing, and how can we get the best out of our external partners.
Where I think the story unfolds perfectly is the magic of the agency is in the storytelling. The magic of the client is understanding what's going to click in the business so that it's going to generate growth. And both of them, when they're matched, is a perfect story.